There is so much good news, so much winning out of the Trump White House right now that the mainstream legacy media can't keep up with it.
Boom, just when you thought it couldn't get messy, it explodes. Karoline Leavitt just filed another lawsuit against The View. And now ABC is in pure chaos. Whoopi sweating Joy Behar is fuming. Sunny hosting quiet for once. Because this isn't just some internet beef. This is a second strategic legal missile fired directly at the network, and the hosts, their spiraling sources, say the team at The View is holding emergency meetings, sponsors are pulling out, and execs are calling this a reputation-leveling crisis. But what exactly did Karoline do this time, and how did this second lawsuit flip ABC's entire media empire upside down? Oh, you're going to want to hear this. But before we dive in, do your part, smash that like button to expose media double standards, subscribe for the kind of fire content the mainstream won't dare touch, and share this with someone who still thinks The View is just harmless daytime chatter. Did you just subscribe? Perfect. Now buckle up. Let's unpack the storm. Let's rewind the clock 72 hours. The View airs yet another episode. You'd think that after being hit with an $800 million lawsuit that has Whoopi Goldberg trembling in court, the hosts might finally choose their words carefully. But nope, not even close. Instead of taking a breath, instead of hitting pause, instead of issuing an apology, or even a carefully crafted PR statement, the ladies of The View went full steam ahead into self-destruction mode live on air in front of millions. They mock Karoline Leavitt again, with zero remorse, zero awareness, zero chill. Joy Behar, never want to hold back, throws the first grenade. Trump's token Gen Z mouthpiece. The crowd laughs, the panel nods. Sunny Hostin picks it up like it's a relay race and adds that lawsuit coordinated GOP media stunt, nothing more. And then Whoopi, the woman at the center of the storm. The woman whose courtroom breakdown just went viral. She smirks, adjusts her glasses, and drops the quote that instantly sends Karoline's legal team into red alert mode. She's lucky we let her on the show at all. Cue the applause, cue the smug faces, cue the self-congratulation. But what? They didn't cue the legal tsunami that was about to hit them. Because what the audience saw as sassy banter, what the producers saw as another spicy segment for ratings, Karoline's legal team saw as documented evidence. They didn't just cross the line, they ran a victory lap over it. And those comments, those snarky little jabs, they weren't just petty, they were legally reckless. Within hours, Karoline's team was combing through the footage, isolating audio, transcribing lines, matching timelines with existing court documents. Every second of that segment became a breadcrumb on the trail to lawsuit number 2. And make no mistake, this wasn't just about hurt feelings. It was about demonstrating that even while under active legal scrutiny, the hosts of The View chose to continue the very behavior they were being sued for publicly, proudly, stupidly. And then boom, the second lawsuit drops like a legal thunderclap. Filed in federal court, backed by a sharpened legal team and a thick binder of new evidence. This one isn't just a defamation suit, it's a war cry. Karoline Leavitt isn't just playing defense anymore. She's going on offense. The court charged retaliatory defamation, or in simpler terms, they knew they were already being sued. And instead of keeping their mouths shut, they decided to double down, to provoke, to ridicule, to smear. And now Karoline is hitting back with even more force. The new lawsuit outlines in painstaking detail how the continued attacks weren't just tasteless commentary. They were calculated character assassinations. The charges include malicious continuation of defamatory conduct, defamation, with the intent to intimidate public retaliation during an open legal proceeding, reckless disregard for truth, damage to professional reputation and long-term harm to public image. And the lawsuit cites precedent. One media law expert quoted directly in the filing said, "At this point, The View's legal defense is so weak, they might as well hand her the judgment and ask how she wants it delivered, wire or check." Ouch, but it gets worse. Karoline's team included statements from media ethicists, defamation scholars, and even a retired judge who all agree The View's behavior is astonishingly unwise for litigants actively involved in a defamation case. Even Hollywood insiders are whispering, behind closed doors, Whoopi might be writing her own exit script, and she doesn't even know it. And over at ABC, It's not just panic anymore. It's full-scale Mayday legal fire peer collapse sponsor freeze. ABC thought the first lawsuit was the hurricane they had no idea Karoline had a second wave waiting just offshore. And now it's crashing in Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system? But it's such a typical thing from a 1.5. The halls of ABC aren't just buzzing anymore. They're on fire. According to multiple insiders, the View studio has turned into an emotional war zone, and the real shock, it's not Karoline Leavitt fanning the flames. It's the very women who mocked her on national television, now watching their empire crumble from the inside out. Let's break it down. In the 48 hours after Karoline filed her second lawsuit, chaos erupted behind the scenes. Not just discomfort, not just gossip, full-scale meltdown. ABC producers, those usually calm, suited professionals walking through the halls with headsets and clipboards, are now reportedly furious. But not at Karoline, not at her legal team. They're mad at their own talent. One senior producer reportedly snapped during a post-show debrief, slamming a folder down and saying, "This is what happens when no one listens." Staff members say the tension was so thick you could feel it through the walls. And why wouldn't they be upset? This wasn't just one lawsuit anymore. This was two major lawsuits, each one threatening reputation, ratings, and revenue. And according to a leaked internal memo confirmed by not one, but two separate insiders, the network had already tried to prevent it. The memo, now being whispered about in every hallway and forwarded in confidential Slack threads, reportedly said, "We asked the panel to avoid inflammatory comments on this case. They didn't listen." That's it. That's the entire story in one sentence. ABC didn't just walk into this mess blindly. They knew this was a legal landmine. And still Joy Behar joked, Sunny Holston dismissed, and Whoopi Goldberg smirked her way into a second lawsuit. And now executives are in triage mode. Sponsor calls are going unanswered because no one knows what to say. Legal teams are demanding daily updates, digging through transcripts, emails, and footage like they're prepping for a federal trial.
Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system? But it's such a typical thing from a 1.
And morale unsaid, it's not just low, it's zero. One exhausted staffer confided anonymously to a journalist, "We used to joke about lawsuits. Now we're Googling severance packages." Yes, severance packages. And the fear isn't irrational. Sources say ABC has already frozen multiple internal budgets, halted new segment development for the show, and postponed a major upcoming marketing campaign for The View indefinitely. Security has doubled around the studio, not because of threats, but because the backlash is growing like wildfire. Angry emails, protest tweets, people calling the studio switchboard demanding firings, even longtime fans of the View, those loyal viewers who used to hang on every word, are now speaking out. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. This show used to be about truth. Now it's about tearing down anyone who disagrees. Petitions are circulating. Calls for Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Host to resign have gained serious traction. Even ABC's board is reportedly reviewing talent contracts, a phrase that never ends well. And Karoline, she hasn't said a word. No interview, no viral tweet, no camera appearance. She's playing the most dangerous and effective game in media. She's staying silent while her evidence speaks volumes. And in today's landscape, that silence, it's deafening. Because while The View spins out in public, Karoline Leavitt is calmly watching the dominoes fall. And from the looks of it, she's not done yet. For years, mainstream media outlets have chosen silence. For years, they've ignored stories that didn't fit the narrative. But this time, they can't. The Karoline Leavitt versus The View legal firestorm has become too massive, too explosive, too viral to hide. And here's why that matters. This isn't just another celebrity spat. It's two lawsuits, both against the same show, filed by the same person in less than a month. And the fallout is threatening to upend everything we know about daytime television network responsibility and free speech. Boundaries on live TV. Even outlets that routinely defend The View or sidestep conservative voices are being forced to run full stories. Why? Because the evidence is undeniable, because the stakes are enormous, because the internet refuses to let it go, and now legacy newsrooms are being dragged kicking and screaming into the conversation. Reporters from MSNBC, CNN, even the New York Times have started scrambling for quotes, quietly emailing legal experts and media analysts to try and get ahead of the narrative, because this is no longer a political he said, she said. This is about the limits of defamation, the weaponization of platform power, and the future of accountability in the era of viral clips and high-stakes commentary. One person, two lawsuits, one show. That combination is rare. But what makes it historic is the intentional escalation. Karoline filed the second suit after being defamed again while the first case was still underway. That's not just unusual, that's a legal landmine. According to media law analysts, this case could set precedent. And not just for television hosts. We're talking about YouTubers, streamers, podcast hosts, influencers. Anyone with a platform could feel the ripple effects, because if Karoline wins the bar for what counts as reckless disregard for the truth in the digital age, just got a whole lot lower. Meanwhile, Twitter is on fire. The hashtags Karoline strikes back. Sue the View, media accountability, justice for Karoline, defend the truth. They've dominated political trends for 3 straight days. TikTokers are deep diving into old View episodes, stitching clips of Joy, Whoopi, and Sunny with real-time courtroom analysis. YouTubers are running live stream panels with lawyers, PR experts, and political commentators dissecting every motion, every subpoena, every word said on air. And the most telling sign of all, even left-leaning voices are starting to break ranks. A prominent MSNBC contributor known for defending liberal media institutions went viral this week after posting, "Karoline may be controversial, but she's exposing a media problem we've ignored too long." Thousands of retweets, tens of thousands of likes, and a new wave of uncomfortable questions, because the truth is now unavoidable. For years, shows like The View have operated under a blanket of media protection. They've dished out criticism, personal attacks, and political smears with impunity, wrapped in the warm glow of applause tracks and friendly media headlines. But now Karoline Leavitt just ripped that blanket off, and what's left is a national conversation that can't be shut down, because this lawsuit isn't just about Karoline. It's about the ethics of live TV, the power of narrative framing, the abuse of platform influence. And now that the media has finally been forced to look in the mirror, the reflection's not so pretty.
So it is the belief of this White House and the White House counsel's office that the president was within his executive authority to do that. He is the executive of the executive branch, and therefore he has the power to fire anyone within the executive branch that he wishes to. There's also a case that went before the Supreme Court in 2020, Scala Law LLC versus the Customs, Bureau Protection. I would advise you to look at that case, and that's the legality that this White House was resting on.
You're confident that if they bring lawsuits against you, those prosecutors who were fired, that they will succeed?
We will win in court,
And
yes.
did he personally direct this, given they worked on the classified documents investigation and the election interference investigation?
This was a memo that went out by the Presidential Personnel Office, and the president is the leader of this White House.
And now ABC faces the nightmare scenario they never thought they'd have to deal with. Do we keep the show or cut it loose? Inside Network HQ panic has turned to paralysis. According to multiple insider leaks, ABC executives are now locked in continuous crisis meetings, weighing a decision that could redefine the network's future. They're reportedly stuck between 3 excruciating options: 1, suspend Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny temporarily. This would be a PR band-aid, an attempt to show accountability without dismantling the brand, but critics say it would be seen as too little too late to settle both lawsuits quietly and force public apologies. That means paying out tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, airing formal retractions, and begging sponsors not to walk risky, expensive, and humiliating. 3, cancel The View entirely and rebrand the time slot. The most extreme option, the nuclear option. But some insiders say it's seriously on the table. The damage might be that deep. Why the urgency? Because the damage reports are brutal. Ad teams are panicking as sponsors flee. One by one source claims a 7-figure ad deal was yanked just 24 hours after the second lawsuit dropped. Another major advertiser released a statement saying, "We will not associate with programming under active defamation litigation. Audience trust is tanking. Social sentiment has flipped. The fan base that once cheered for hot takes is now demanding accountability." Legal experts are warning the network If you don't act now, you'll be in court for the next 5 years. ABC thought they were untouchable. They thought daytime drama came with no consequences. But Karoline Leavitt, she just proved that even the most powerful platform in television isn't immune to accountability. She just touched the untouchable all right. Now the floor is yours. Did Karoline Leavitt just reshape media accountability for the second time in a row? Is this the moment, the tipping point, when legacy media finally loses its grip on unchecked power? And should ABC pull the plug on The View before it drags the entire network into a collapse? It can't recover from. Drop your answers in the comments. I'm watching closely because this story, it's not just about Karoline. It's about every single person who's ever been mocked, belittled, gaslit, or shouted down by a media machine that thought it could never be held accountable. And now that machine is glitching, cracking, collapsing because Karoline Leavitt didn't just clap back, she came back with evidence, law, and surgical precision.
While I vow to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House.
Boom. She's got more.
I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country.
Bam! It's on in the middle of the night.
What did The View do? They laughed, they mocked, they rolled their eyes. And now they're in full-blown panic mode, trying to tape it all back together with a couple of please don't sue us apologies and desperate PR spins. But Karoline, she's not backing down. She's not doing interviews. She's not playing the victim. She's letting the facts speak. And the facts, they're screaming. So before you scroll, ask yourself, if one woman, one young conservative with zero corporate protection can bring a billion-dollar empire to its knees twice, what does that say about how fragile the media bubble really is? And what does it say about who actually holds the power? Now, that's why this moment matters, not just for Karoline, not just for Whoopi, but for everyone watching from the sidelines wondering if maybe, just maybe, this is the beginning of a new media era where truth fights back. So here's your final call to action: smash that like button if you're done with the hypocrisy, the bullying, and the elitist echo chambers on TV. Subscribe right now. If you want to stay 10 steps ahead of the stories they'll try to bury, share this with someone who still thinks The View is just harmless daytime fluff, because clearly this show has become a legal liability wrapped in a fake smile. And most importantly, don't look away, because this isn't just a lawsuit anymore. This is a war for narrative control, and Karoline Leavitt, she's not just winning, she's rewriting the entire playbook. Stay locked in and subscribe to stay updated. The next bombshell is coming. And if The View thought this was over,